Hey beautiful people, hope you're having a wonderful weekend so far. So today I want to speak to you about the belly brain. What is the belly brain and how can we use it? How can we harness the powers and the gifts within the belly brain moving forward? And the difference between the different areas of the brain in our head and in our wisdom center, as I like to refer it to. So before we get started, guys, if you're new to the channel, please consider liking this video, pressing the subscribe button and the bell notification so you don't miss any future uploads. Okay guys, so let's get started. So guys, one of the main questions I get all the time is how can we discern truth from lies? How can we know what is true in amongst a sea of deceptions? And it is very challenging, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that I get it right 100% of the time. I certainly make mistakes, but there's one thing that I do, or try and do, get into the habit of, which limits the mistakes that I make and really tunes me in to the frequency of truth, because essentially everything is a frequency and that includes truth. And once you recognize that frequency, it's actually quite easy to retain it and to understand when you're hearing or seeing truth and when you're hearing all the deception. And it has a lot to do with the belly brain. Okay, so the belly brain, obviously we're not taught about this at school, as you know, we're not taught anything of really any benefit to us in school. The belly brain is very, very important to us. It is where you hold your innate wisdom. It is where you have your knowing from, that gut feeling. We all have that gut feeling. And there is a much more higher wisdom than the head brain. The head brain is all about logic and reason, and as soon as we get drawn into the head brain, that's when we start making mistakes. So the more, what I say to people, the more you can practice tuning in and feeling out something or someone, the more you can get into the habit of doing that, the easier it becomes. And this really is useful, especially when we get into things like entering a relationship and making career choices and moving home and things like that. For me now, it's always what my feeling is first. How do I feel about something? Not an ignorant kind of feeling where everything's got to feel right to be true. That's another misconception that a lot of people unfortunately go with. People just go with what feels good, and unfortunately, as we know, and as many of you who watch my videos know, that what is true doesn't always feel good. So it's not a feeling like that. It's is this right? Is this right? Like deep down, does this feel good? And like I say, the more you practice it, the more you get in touch with that belly brain, that innate wisdom, that's when you'll become a master. Discerning truth from lies becomes very easy. But it's, like I say, it's when we get caught up in the head brain, which is the reptilian brain, which is their brain essentially that they gave us. There's a lot of people out there, and I have to agree that there's been a lot of DNA splicing going on, and perhaps they've implanted parts of themselves. I mean, it says it all, doesn't it, really? Reptilian brain. And what are reptiles like? Well, they're very reactive. It's all about fight or flight. It's all about survival. And how many of us are constantly in that mode in everyday life? We're just fighting to survive. We're looking for the next danger. And what that does is it keeps us out of the belly brain. It keeps us out of that wisdom, that knowing, that intuition, because we're always up here and we're always like checking ourselves. And so we have to really understand the difference in the two. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are uses for the reptilian brain. There are uses, there are times when we need that. For example, if you're going to cross a road and there's a bus coming, you're really going to want that reptilian part of the brain to kick in to get you out of the way of the bus. So it does have its place, but I strongly feel that one of the ways that they've enslaved us is by giving us their own minds. Because what that does, when you're in that state of fear and survival all the time, it lowers your vibration, which is food for them, these energies and entities that are just outside our visible, just outside visible light, which we can see. So if we're always in that anxiety, that fear, it's a constant food supply. So to me, it makes perfect sense that at some point in our history, this was actually implanted, or our DNA was messed with, and we kind of merged with them in one way. So yeah, it's just tuning into that gut feeling. You know, we all say, oh, I had a gut feeling about it. I had a gut feeling that person was wrong for me, but I didn't follow it. How many times have we said that? I mean, if I had £1 for every time I felt it but didn't go with it, then I'd be a very rich man. So, that's the kind of thing we need to get tuned back into. Every time we get caught in the head, any big decisions that you have to make in your life, before you go to the head, like anxiety and fear and looking for the worst, what is your gut saying? Go back to that wisdom. And that is essentially how we are going to, or one of the ways at least, going to get out of this. Because one of the biggest problems that we have as a species is we're not discerning, okay? We're not discerning what politicians are doing, we're not discerning what's going on in the New Age. You have all these people and entities and promising us one thing, telling us all this stuff that we want to hear. And I've said it before, what happens is we end up down a cul-de-sac, or we end up getting deceived again. So essentially we kind of have to train ourselves to rethink, and there is a process to that, and that is tuning into your wisdom, to your higher knowing. And so the more of us that can do that, first of all, we need to wake up to the fact that we do live in a complete deceptive reality. Deception in third dimension, deception in the fourth dimension, broken promises all the way along. So we have to come to the understanding that, as I said before, not everything that we hear that feels good is essentially good for us as individuals and as a species. And this is where so much of the New Age trappings get people, because it ties into them wanting to feel good. And the New Age has been so genius in the way it's been set up, because it attracts a lot of wounded people, a lot of people that need a lot of healing. And instead of having to face the dark night of the soul, if you can just pray to an angel or an alien, or something else is going to save you, then of course it's going to be very appealing. So it all sounds very good in the head brain, but really, is that really going to get you to where you need to? Is that really going to get you over years of trauma? It's not. And so for people that are coming out of the New Age, and there's more and more now, well done, first of all, because we've all been trapped by the false white light at some point. But there has to be, what's happening now is there is an awakening within the awakening. So we're having people wake up to the fact that, they've been lied to, politicians are lying, and, their food's poison and all this stuff. And they're also waking up to this, they're not only human, they have a spiritual nature. And that's amazing, but then what they're doing is they're going from one matrix into another matrix, which is the New Age, which is the new religion, where they're being told to avoid anything that's negative. Don't focus on anything that might be bad, just go with what feels good, and it's all love and light. And what's really exciting at the moment, and I see it through my work and the sessions that I hold, is that there are more and more people now that are awakening out of the awakening out of the awakening. And so this is exciting to see, because I think once we get through the New Age, they call it the last honey trap before the gold mine, and that's certainly what I feel it is. And it's really good to see more and more people now thinking, do you know what? praying to angels has not helped me, or balancing my chakras every day is also not helped me. So there's a lot, like I say, there's a lot of implants and other stuff going on around that, but it's all about feeling out the truth, learning the frequency of truth, and as I say, the more you can do that, the less mistakes you'll make, and the less mistakes you'll make in your own life, the better relationships you'll have, because you'll feel out a person, better business decisions you might make, and it goes on and on. So I'm not telling everyone to suck eggs, how to suck eggs, but I do get asked the question a lot for people that are coming out of the new age. Well, I've been deceived so badly, how do I know what is truth and what is lies, because I thought all that, or I thought that was true. That's how you do it. Ponder on something. I love that word, pondering. Ponder on something, really feel it. What's it feel like there? So yeah, that's today's video, guys. If you like the video, please don't forget like it, and if you're new to the channel, as I say, please subscribe, guys. Also, what do you think? Please leave your comments in the comment section below. I always like to interact with you, and I'd be interested to know where you've gone right or wrong with this, and are you someone that listens to your gut feeling or not? So guys, I'm going to leave it there. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you on the next one. Take it easy. Bye.